All right. Hello. Welcome to the first ever 9 innings podcast. Is it ninth inning? 9 innings? I think it's ninth inning.
Ninth inning, yeah.
Ninth inning podcast. My name is Ben, also known as Mr. OT5, and I am here with Manic Bradley. Bradley, do you want to say hi?
Hello, everybody. Very happy to be here. Very excited. If you
You
couldn't tell, I have a big grin on my face.
beautiful. I also do. This is going to be really cool.
Oh, yeah.
So you want to introduce the podcast, what we're doing a little bit, Bradley, and introduce yourself a little more if you want to.
So ultimately, we both love baseball. We've been playing it since we've been little kids. And I feel like a lot of the people around us don't really like to talk baseball. So I feel like this is a very good opportunity for us to be able to kind of get our baseball like out there and just yap about the greatest sport in America. Dare I say the world? Probably not. Many would argue soccer, probably, but yeah, I'm from Wisconsin, as is Ben. I'm in Indiana for a year doing research, nerdy science stuff. So um, I'm a little farther away from Wisconsin than I'd like, but yeah, I know we're getting a little off track here, but yeah.
So Bradley said we're from Wisconsin. One thing we're gonna do today is obviously we're not gonna do this every time, but Bradley and I are gonna get our biases out of the way. I think one thing that I've noticed with podcasts and media in general is that people's bias really influences their opinions on whatever. So
Yeah.
we have a thing planned. We're just gonna straight up tell you our favorite baseball teams. You might be able to guess our number one, our favorite teams, players,
No.
former players, etc. So that's one thing we're gonna do eventually. But first, before we go any farther, if you ever want to talk baseball, football, basketball, any sports, any life things, just anything at all, Bradley and I both stream on Twitch. Bradley, what's your Twitch?
Manic Bradley, TTV Manic Bradley on Twitch. Drop a follow, say hello.
Yeah, it's Manic Bradley. And then on my end, it's Mr. OT5, MROT5. That is it. Come swing by if you want to. We don't have a sponsor, so I guess that'll be our sponsor today.
W.
So first off, to warm up every episode, Bradley and I are each going to get a little trivia question for each other to warm up our brains, warm up your brains at home. So Bradley, would you like to go first, or should I?
I'll
Okay,
ask
okay.
first. I'll ask first. Okay, so I love statistics. Okay, and so my question is, who has thrown the most knuckleballs in the Statcast era? Okay, so like when I say Statcast era, like you're looking at like some of the top five pitches are like Justin Verlander's fastball, Corbin Burns's cutter, got guys that throw that pitch a lot and is very successful with that pitch. And there's actually a knuckleballer, I believe, in the top five, if not top 10 for sure. And he's been retired for a while.
So you know when the Statcast era started? I want to say it was mid 2010s. I don't know exactly what year.
Honestly, I'm not sure either. I can Google it quick. But,
Right. I'm curious because now that depends on what my answer.
it Statcast was introduced to MLB released its first Statcast data in 2016, summarizing the 2015 season's notable statistics.
Okay. So I would have to imagine in the top five somewhere is the Padres pitcher Matt Waldron. I don't think that's not my answer.
Okay.
I believe I think I might be wrong on the name here. I know he pitched for the Blue Jays. Is it J.A. Happ? Is that his name?
No, York, like the name is close.
I know I'm not correct on the name, but I know I'm close. Is
I'll
it
give you a
Hap?
hint. Is it what?
Is it Hap?
Nope. He won a Cy Young. I don't know if that helps or hurts.
I don't think I got it.
R.A. Dickey.
I knew it was the two
Yeah.
A things. I should have got that.
But what's crazy to me is that he's been retired for so long, and you got guys like Verlander, who's like top. He might be number one, but then you got like R.A. Dickey in there with the knuckleball. Meanwhile, everybody else has like a fastball and a cutter, and it's just like, wow,
Yeah.
that is crazy that he threw the knuckleball that much. He won a Cy Young because of that pitch. Like, oh,
I
R.A.
wish I
Dickey
could
was
have.
fun.
I wasn't old enough really to ever watch R.A. Dickey.
I watched him on the
Oh my god.
Mets.
Yeah.
He was nasty.
He was Blue Jays at some point, right?
I think he was the Blue Jays before the Mets. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Man, dude. The knuckleball is my favorite pitch in baseball. Just the pitcher throwing it and having no
Yep.
idea where it's gonna end up, and it's still being effective. It just makes it
Right.
infinitely cool. Like,
In last club season, I actually was developed a knuckleball and I threw it a couple times. Got like 3 strikeouts on it on the 3 times I threw it. So W.
nice. That's awesome.
Thank you, R.A. Dickey.
Shout out R.A. Dickey and J.A. Happ, wherever you are.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right. My trivia also is pitching related.
Ooh,
Um, The question is, who pitched the last 3 no hitters?
the last 3 no hitters,
Yeah.
including this year, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so well, Dylan Cease,
Yep.
which I think is funny because so Luis Ariz was the first one to give him a hug, and when Dylan Cease was on the White Sox, Luis Ariz was actually the one that broke up his no going into the 9th. So I thought that was kind of a funny little tidbit.
Yeah, I saw that. That was with 2 outs in the 9th, right?
Yep.
Yep, that's
And he broke it. Yeah, that's tough. But I don't know, cool little moment between those two, I guess.
yep.
And then Blake Snell just threw in last night.
That's correct. We are recording this on Saturday, August 3rd, for anyone wondering.
Yep. And then oh shoot. And then there was another one this year. Was it Ronel Blanco?
It was Ronel Blanco.
Let's go!
3 for 3.
W Pog Champ.
When I was writing this question, I was like, I almost just said it as starts that didn't let up a hit, because I'm pretty sure Skeens has thrown 2 starts this year where he hasn't let up a hit.
Really?
I know he did one against the Brewers like 2 weeks ago because I watched that game.
Yeah. He had the no through like 7, and then he got pulled.
I'm pretty confident he threw a no through 6 and like his second start of the year. It was early in the year for sure.
He's nuts.
Paul Skeens is going to be, if he stays healthy, going to be one of the greatest pitchers to ever play in the bigs.
I mean, he might already be one of I know this is really early, but I mean, he might already be one of the most talented pitchers out there in the majors right now.
All I'm gonna say is only 2 pitchers can start the All-Star game. So
right, and I will say this: his first start is arguably the most anticipated start since Steven Strasburg.
Yeah,
those 2 are some of the most hyped prospects coming out of college, and the hype for them to start a baseball game is just nothing I've ever seen before.
Yeah, the fun thing for me is like Skeens has, in my opinion, he has crushed expectations. I don't think anyone would have thought he was going to be where he is right now. I mean, you could have been like, oh yeah, he's going to be good. Would you have said he's going to be this good? I certainly wouldn't have.
No, I felt like he was going to be a lot, like my kind of thinking towards him was going to be more towards a Shohei Ohtani first year pitching, second year pitching, where he was like in the low to mid 3s. He was going to get a lot of Ks just because his stuff is insane. He has the changeup. He has he has a splitter too. He has a slurve, a slider, and then obviously he has the 103 mile per hour fastball. Which one thing I find interesting is that a lot of guys that have that overpowering gas, they often use that as the primary pitch. He doesn't. He uses that more of a strikeout pitch, which I think is A, great for his longevity, and B, is just a very interesting usage that I think a lot more guys should take into consideration. A guy like Spencer Strider, who is dealing with arm issues, he's got a nasty slider, he's got, this nasty stuff, but he's so insistent on using that fastball overly using it, that I'm concerned about his arm moving forward. You know.
Yeah. I have a funny story about Skeens. We had a softball game last night, and we're driving back. Brutal loss, by the way, in that softball game. Absolutely atrocious. We were up like 15 going into the fifth, and we ended up losing in extras.
Were you pitching? Because if
no,
so,
I was in the outfield. No, we're driving back, and we're just talking standings with my dad and my mom in the car, and my mom goes, she's like, "Who's this Paul Skeens guy? I keep hearing about him. I recognize the name from somewhere." She's like,
Livy Dune's boyfriend.
That's what I said. She goes, "Who's Livy Dunn?" And she's like, "Where did he play at school, or where did he go to college?" I said LSU.
Air Force.
And he was at LSU too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would have just said Air Force just to screw with your mom.
No, my mom's like, she's like, "Oh my god, she was in Louisiana like 2 years ago." She's like, "That's where I heard the name so much, because he was just hyped already down there in college."
Oh yeah.
Which that makes it all the better that like this entire time he's been on top of the world. But yeah, I forgot he was at Air Force. You're right. So I don't really have a good transition here, but next, I feel like I was talking to Bradley off the air. I don't really know how you describe it. Off the air, sure. We kind of came to a conclusion that there's a lot of hate generally around the way that umpires are viewed, and yeah, I mean, your team's batting, you get called a strike 3 on a pitch off the plate. Your natural instinct is to be, "Oh my gosh, it's the umpire's fault we lost."
Right.
So what we are doing is we are going to talk about some of the umpires' games. Some of them are phenomenal. Some of them are less than phenomenal. But we just want to talk and show the good and the bad of umpiring, because even though it seems as a fan that your team's always the one that's getting screwed, that there is mostly good. I mean, the umpires are professionals after all.
Yeah, they had to work their way up, you know.
Yep. So, Bradley, do you have an umpire? We're using umpire scorecards, so shout out to @umpscorecards on Twitter. Bradley, do you have a scorecard that you want to talk about from somebody this week?
I actually have two, and this week I'm not going to the negative side of things. I'm going more positive. So the first one I'd like to talk about is Junior Valentine, and his umping job on July 29th. It was the Baltimore Orioles versus the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays ended up winning that one 8-4. And normally, this Junior Valentine is, I'd say, like a above average umpire. I think he's like middle of the road, like amongst those not great, not awful kind of umps. Like on the year, he's in the 68th percentile for accuracy, whereas his expected accuracy is in the 74th percentile. So, like I said, he's not great. And he's in the 81st percentile for consistency, which is good. But this start for the Orioles and Blue Jays, he did have a 98% accuracy, and his expected accuracy was in the 45th percentile. So crazy good. He must have seen something that day and compared to the other games. I don't know if the pitchers were just throwing straighter. I don't know. But beautiful calling this game, and he was right. He had good favor. He was in the good favor percentile too, so he wasn't favoring one team or the other, which is, I think, a very important thing as far as I think the most important thing for umps is consistency and favor. Just because you don't want an ump that favors one team or the other, because that just seems, a little sussy, in my opinion. And consistency is key. Like if you're calling something off the plate just a little bit, make sure it's there the whole game and for both teams. I think that's extremely important. So a little round of applause for Junior Valentine. Great called game. Love that. And then my other ump was Trip Gibson, which he is classified as a not good ump. He's in like the 54th percentile for accuracy. He's in the 30th percentile for consistency. So, I mean, not great, but I will give him a round of applause for the game he called on July 30th. It was Tampa versus Miami, and the Rays ended up winning that game 9-3. But once again, he was in the 99th percentile for accuracy when his expected accuracy was in the 89th percentile. So again, kudos, 10% better than what you're expected to do. And then his consistency was in the 90th percentile. I will say though, he was in the 50th percentile for favor. So not ideal there, but once again, everything else was much better than what he's done all season, which I think is, the season's still young-ish. We're over halfway, so it's not that young, but still, room for improvement. But when a guy normally performs this bad, you gotta give him kudos for the games he does call very well. So kudos to Trip Gibson for calling a good game here.
Yeah. For both the two scorecards you had, the two strikes that were called balls, both were very close.
Right.
And it was, both good called games in general.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And yeah, just good work by those umps. On the alternate note, I picked someone that the scorecard looks pretty bad. I'm gonna explain some of the calls. I think.
Okay.
So Chad Whitson on Monday called a game between the Twins and Mets. First off, there's a ton of really funny things that jump out in this game. First off, the Mets won by 13, and Whitson's favor was heavily favored for the Twins, which is
very interesting.
Which is pretty funny. Yeah. Just an unbelievably dominant game from New York.
Which they've been playing insane lately.
Yeah, the Mets have been rolling. We'll probably get into that later, but so the thing that jumps out at me obviously is just the graphic of the strike zone. You look at this and you're like, oh my gosh, this looks awful. What was he doing? What are the pitches above the zone? For someone that hasn't watched the game and hasn't looked into this, I would bet a lot of money that a position player came in to pitch. And those two pitches up top were called strikes because they were coming in at probably 40 miles an hour. And yeah, Wallner was pitching in the bottom of the eighth, which was the third most impactful calls. But I'm going to be honest, in the bottom of the eighth, it probably wasn't that impactful in the end of the day.
Right.
But yeah, the outside and the inside, it looks like at least he was consistent, which, as Bradley was saying, is a good thing. I saw a player on Twitter a few years ago complaining. Someone on Twitter said, "Hey, if they're consistent, that's what matters." And then the player responded something like, "Oh." He goes, yeah, but it's big leagues. Pitchers don't need help facing us. And I was like, that's not a bad point.
Yeah, that is a pretty good point.
But yeah, you have the outlier low in the zone strike that was called. That one hurt you, whoever's hitting there. And then the two balls that were called just because of the one up in the top right, that could have been in the eighth inning too, but Either way, when the ball is coming in at that angle, it's tough to call strikes too accurately. So, I just thought it was really, in short, I thought it was just interesting how the Twins lost by 13, yet it was favored for them pretty heavily.
Yeah, yeah, I think that is a funny statistic as well.
Uh, all right. We said earlier that we are going to talk about our biases. So Bradley and I both wrote down some of our favorite teams, players, etc. And if you have any stories about any of these teams or players, Bradley, feel free to let them know. I think well, we're doing two things here. A, we're addressing our biases. So 3 weeks from now, when we say that uh, the Rangers are awful for whatever reason, you will now know whether that's biased or truthful. And the other thing is, too, I feel like every time I listen to podcasts or something, I always get excited when the podcaster is highlighting my favorite teams or
Oh
players
yeah,
in positive lights. So I guess
hundred
this is
percent.
our way to say we're going to highlight these guys in positive lights.
Yeah.
Um, so first off, we have the simplest, our top 5 teams. Bradley, you want to tell me who your favorite 5 baseball teams are?
Okay, so obviously from Wisconsin, so it should come to nobody's surprise that my number one team is the Brewers. Miller Park, it will forever be Miller Park to me. That is my mecca of baseball. I love going to baseball games there. It is just a beautiful stadium, and the state of Wisconsin is very, very lucky to have the Brewers and that stadium. I'm just gonna say that straight out. My second favorite team is the A's. Um, I know it's been rough the last couple of years with ownership, especially. Um, but I watched Moneyball as a very young kid, so obviously the A's got introduced to me. And I'm not gonna lie, one of my favorite players. I'm getting kind of ahead of myself, but Matt Chapman, like he is probably the reason why I kind of stuck to watching the A's here and there when the Brewers aren't on. They're probably my number two go to team. And I mean, just yeah, the A's. I mean, Esteury Ruiz too is another one of those guys I just love to watch. So I mean, former Brewer, we got him in the Hater trade and then got rid of him immediately. I think it would have been interesting to see what the Brewers could have done with that kind of speed, but I mean, we'll see. Third favorite team is the Guardians. I think kind of they have the same vibe as the Brewers. I think where they're not like the biggest market, not the smallest market, but they kind of build from within. Guys like Stephen Kwan, Jose Ramirez, like they built that team up from a farm. So I love to see that, and I mean I have nothing against them. And then the Blue Jays are number four. I will say they are up there for me mainly because of Josh Donaldson and obviously Jose Bautista. I mean, those guys were just electric back in the day. Oh man, I mean, they're just so much fun to watch. That team was incredible, especially when they had like R.A. Dickey too. Like, I mean, just so many studs. Like Bo Bichette, love Bo Bichette. I know he's struggling this year, but I mean, there's no hate against the Blue Jays. I love them, especially being from up north. And then the Rockies are number five. I don't know what it is about the Rockies. I think it might be because their mascot is a Triceratops, and that's the goated dinosaur. Uh, but I mean, Chuck Nasty, I love watching him play. I mean, whenever I play MLB The Show, I love playing in Coors Field. It's a beautiful field, and I mean, how can you hate on the Rockies when they're this bad? You know?
No, I agree. I like the Rockies a good amount. There's one team. I feel like you're gonna be surprised when I say this that you mentioned is my second least favorite team in baseball, and it's mostly this is gonna provide good arguments later. It's mostly because I had a roommate that liked this team,
Oh
and now
God.
they're in my mind exceeding expectations,
Oh,
and it's
it's
frustrating for me because I didn't like this roommate.
so the Guardians, huh?
Yeah, I'm not.
How can you say they're exceeding expectations?
Um, so this was like a few weeks ago by now. I don't exactly remember. There's just some stats. I mean, the Brewers are high in some of these too. Um, but the Guardians, for example, whenever I looked, were leading the league in the other teams committing the most errors against them. And like baseball's a luck game. There's so much luck, there's so much skill, but there's also so much luck that goes into baseball. Uh, but like I see that, and I can't I can't overstate how much I dislike this roommate, but I'm not gonna get into that. It's just roommate, and then those frustrations boil over into, instead of me taking it out on my roommate, because I'm not really one to yell, I take it out onto wishing his sports team bad fortune.
I mean, you can say that, like, yes, the errors for. I mean, the errors obviously help them as far as like their opponents committing that many errors, but they also have the fourth highest run differential. So like, it's not just errors. Like they're a very well-rounded baseball team, and not to mention they have arguably the best closer in baseball, which helps them tremendously win baseball games.
Yeah,
And I think, I don't know, I think they play baseball in a very. I mean, they just play baseball so complete. You
no,
know, they hit for contact, they hit for power. Their pitchers are. I mean, it hurts that they lost Bieber very on in the year, especially when he was finally finding himself again. I feel like. So I think it's even more kudos to hit them that they have the depth in the starting pitching to allow them to have the best record in baseball. You know,
I don't think they're a bad team. I believe that they're a good team. When I say exceeding expectations, I'm saying like 6 to 8 wins above where I thought they would be. Um, so it's not. I'm not saying they would have a losing record or anything, but I don't think it's not like it's substantial where I think they would be otherwise. It's just frustrating when I see stats like that, and I'm like, well, there goes my appetite for the day, because now I can't. Now I'm thinking about this roommate again.
fair enough.
But anyway, this isn't about our least favorite teams. It's about our favorite teams. Bradley is from Wisconsin. I'm from Wisconsin, so yes, number one is the Brewers. So when we talk about the Brewers, you're gonna have to take that with a grain of salt, because I am confident that we are biased against for
I
the
mean, I feel like
Brewers.
we're biased, yes, but I feel like we're very like down to earth Brewers fans as well. Like I feel
Yeah,
like a lot of Brewers fans are down to earth just because. I mean, before the Fielder Braun era, I mean, we didn't make the playoffs a single time after the World Series in '82. Like we were horrendous
yeah.
for many, many years. I mean, even during our lifetime. Like, I mean, you know, so like I feel like our bias is there, and it will be. But like when we're talking about the Brewers, we'll be honest as far as saying, yeah, this guy is not performing well. The team can do other things to be better. So I think, I don't know. I think we're gonna have a very, obviously this might be biased towards us, but I think we're gonna have very honest takes as far as to our knowledge.
We'll see if you guys agree. And while I'm thinking about that, if you guys disagree or agree with anything we have to say, leave a comment. Let us know what you're thinking. We just booted up Twitter and Instagram. You're either watching this on YouTube or Spotify. I think you can comment on Spotify. I'm not 100% sure,
I
but
don't think so.
if you can't figure it out, let us know on anywhere else. We'll throw our links in the description of the video or the podcast or whatever. So let us know what you're thinking. The rest of my top five teams list goes. So Brewers are number one. Number two is the Seattle Mariners.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
I'm a big Mariners fan. I have a buddy who's a big Mariners fan. Shout out Jordan. I know you're gonna be listening to this. Uh, Number three. This is a tough one. But I really like their center fielder when he's healthy, Mike Trout, and the Angels
Ew. Sorry.
are. I know Bradley is a. You're not a Mike Trout hater, but
I'm not a Mike Trout hater. No,
you're
like
a you're a.
just
What would you describe yourself as here?
um, I would say because of a certain person that I played baseball with, I have grown to have arguments with him with one player versus Trout. So I understand Trout is a generational talent. Might go down if he ever gets healthy again as the greatest player in our generation, even though there are guys like Verlander and Kershaw. Um, I'm also a left-handed pitcher bias, just so you guys know. I am a lefty and I was a pitcher.
Yuck.
So there's bias there too. Yeah, I would not say I'm a Mike Trout hater. I'd just say I'm a Mike Trout arguer, I guess.
Okay. We'll add that into next week's episode. Because I want to hear more about your thoughts on that, so we'll deal with that next time. But 4 for me is the Minnesota Twins. I recently went to their stadium, their ballpark, for the first time, and it was pretty decent. We went to the highest selling game in Twins history with
That's
standing room
crazy.
only tickets, so I'm sure you can imagine that was real fun.
Yeah.
And then number 5 to round it out is the Baltimore Orioles. I think I just really like their young core, and they've struggled for so long. It's just fun to watch a team. Sorry, White Sox. I don't think that you guys are on this path. Be bad and then build through the minor leagues and then come up and you're dominant.
I mean, if the White Sox are as bad as the Orioles for that long, they very well could.
Hey, the White Sox will turn it around eventually.
Maybe.
They're just it's gonna be 30 years of just 40 win seasons.
Yeah. Do we want to say like our like at least like bottom 2 like least favorite teams type of thing?
Well, I mean we can. I already told you who my second worst is.
Yeah.
My least favorite team is the Cubs, and it's not. I like a lot of their players. I think Shota Imanaga is awesome. I think Nico Horner is awesome.
Okay, that's interesting.
As a Brewers fan, I just see. I mean, Brewers fans aren't perfect. I'm not saying that by any means. There's just some things that Cubs fans do at Brewer games, and
you mean Chicago fans in general, other than the White Sox?
Yeah, I feel bad for the White Sox, but I will continue to make fun of them. But it's just. It's the fan base. So if you're a Cubs fan, take this personal, turn the podcast off, and never come back, and we'll never have any problems.
No, don't do that. Stay here, Cubs fans.
Nah, I'm just kidding. Like I said, there's a lot of players I like on that team. I'm gonna be relatively level-headed. But just like every team, there's a few players I don't like. So it's not nothing against the squad. It's just baseball. Who are your 2?
I will say my least favorite team in all of baseball is the St. Louis Cardinals. I like on this podcast, I will be as level-headed as possible when it comes to this team. Like I'm gonna be honest. I don't have I hate the Cubs fans, but like I have no real like distaste towards any other teams except for my bottom 2. To be completely honest with you, like I despise the Cardinals. Just how many times the Brewers have had a really good team, and in my lifetime, the Cardinals have wiped them out of the playoffs. And probably 2 of the best years of the Brewers, like recently. Like I know they beat them in the playoffs in 2011 in the NLCS, which absolutely broke my heart. Yeah, I have a very hard time looking at a Cardinals fan and not going ugh, type of thing. I don't know. That's just me though.
I've seen that in person. I like it when you do that.
Yeah.
I used to think you were doing that to me, but no, it was something else. Before you go another step, just so you can take a step back, who's your favorite player on the Cardinals right now?
Nobody.
Yo, you gotta give me one.
I gotta give you one.
Yeah.
Uh, there's like three.
Let's hear them.
I like Mason Wynn, their rookie shortstop. He's got a cannon on defense. I've always been a sucker for slick fielding shortstops. And Mason Wynn, I mean, he has a cannon. He makes great plays. He keeps his mouth shut. He's a very classy, good player. Which I shouldn't say mouth shut. That's just rude. But like, he's a classy player. He doesn't make like Manny Machado waves. That type of thing. I do like Alec Burleson. I like big bodied guys that just like crush baseballs. He's one of those guys. He also seems like very, very like. He's homegrown talent, so I gotta respect him for that too. I like Burleson, and then I like Helsley. Like I like pitchers, and Helsley's got a disgusting slider. He obviously throws gas. Do I like it when he comes out on the field against the Brewers? Heck no. But watching him against any other team, sure, no problem.
Nice. Who's the other team you're
The
biased
Dodgers. I
against?
can't stand the Dodgers. The fan base is cringe. You guys haven't won a real World Series since the '80s.
All right.
Like, they trigger me. I'm not gonna lie. The Dodgers. The Dodgers. I also can't stand Freddie Freeman.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I can't stand him.
There are so many awesome human beings on the Dodgers. Uh
Debatable.
gosh. The Dodgers fans, I will step up for your players. I will not step up for as a small market team fan how you guys just have unlimited money and then arguably the best player in baseball decides to take $2 million a year for the next 10 years.
Yeah, that also. Oh, that steered me the wrong way.
That was insane. Uh,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna get paid $700 million. I'm gonna get paid actually $2 million for 10 years. Then I'm gonna get a lower tax because I'm gonna move back to Japan after I'm done with the Dodgers. I'm gonna get a very much lower tax, and I'm gonna basically make the 680 mil for like actually 680 mil.
want the good news, Bradley?
What's that?
Our 30s, we're not gonna have to worry about that team ever.
Yeah, true. Nah, that's not true. They have infinite funds,
Yeah, I
dude.
know. Got inflation, that'll be crazy. Shohei will be making nothing by then.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, who are your top 5 former players that are no longer on the field?
Top 5 former players.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna really put them in an order,
That's fine.
just because it's really hard, and there's so many that I really really like. But I will say my number one is Ichiro. I love Ichiro. Love him. And then as a lefty pitcher, I kind of modeled my curveball off of him, Madison Bumgarner.
Okay.
I will forever have the argument that Madison Bumgarner is a better pitcher than Kershaw, which isn't exactly true in the regular season or all time. But you put Madison Bumgarner in the playoffs, it's over.
Yeah, that's
He's
when
the
it
best.
matters.
Yeah, I think he's one of the best pitchers all time when it comes to playoffs. He's just so clutch. And then actually another player that played with Bumgarner in his prime, Tim Lincecum. I loved him so much.
What a
And it was so,
goofy windup he had.
oh, dude. It was just art. Like, that's what I love about pitching is that each player has their own art form because every pitcher does not have the same pitching motion. And it's just like their own ability to increase velocity, paint corners. It's pitching is such a beautiful, baseball itself is such a beautiful sport. And it's just, Tim Lincecum is he, in my opinion, really defines that aspect, whereas baseball is beautiful type of thing. And then Randy Johnson, another lefty that I just loved. If you're not getting this lefty aspect of my bias, Ichiro, Mad Bum, Randy, and then I will say I did just get a jersey of this fifth guy, and it is a beautiful jersey. Prince Fielder. I love Prince Fielder. He's the reason. Like he was my favorite player on the Brewers when I was very young, and like he honestly like played such an impact on like me playing baseball and me playing first base and just like my swing and approach. Prince Fielder was a massive reason for the way I played baseball, except for pitching, of course, because that'd be interesting. But
All right,
that's my top five. Yeah.
that was a ton of fun. We're gonna redo that, but you're not allowed to use any lefties.
What?
I'm just kidding.
Oh God. So I can't use
I'm just kidding.
Ichiro. Oh, well, I was gonna come up with them.
Let's go. Let's hear him then.
Can't use lefties. Shoot. Okay, Carlos Gomez will be up there then.
Wow. Okay.
Love Go-Go. He was, I mean, so much fun to watch. Go-Go was elite for those 2 years on the Brewers. Ooh, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
My favorite former player of all time, nostalgia, take me home, Ryan Braun.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just got inducted to the Walk of Fame.
Yeah, he did. He did. To all you people at home, I am aware that he was on steroids and made bad decisions, but as a young kid, all I really cared about was baseball, and he was pretty good at it. Besides the year he didn't play because he was suspended.
I love that we each had like one of that duo on our list.
I was pretty confident you were gonna have Fielder on it anyway.
Yeah.
Two of my top five are also ones Bradley had. Ichiro and Randy Johnson.
Really? Ichiro's on your list?
In their own ways were super awesome.
Yeah.
Randy Johnson, I think, obvious reasons. Ichiro, obvious reasons. Both of them just chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Just amazing baseball players.
Played baseball beautifully, you know? Yep. I'm surprised Ichiro's on your list. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm surprised.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking about it when I was writing, and I'm like, I have never had a negative thought about Ichiro ever.
Yeah.
Fun fact for you, I don't know if you ever played the Bigs 2 on the Wii. It was a baseball game with turbo and weird stuff. It was around Prince Fielder or Ryan Braun's era. Yep. I had a bunt. You know how like people drop bunts for singles? I had a bunt double with Ichiro.
That's nuts.
Yeah. He's just that fast, and it wasn't video game drama at all. He's just that fast. The other two on my list, I have a former Brewer. I remember when I was young. This is another nostalgia. When he was on the mound, I would like mirror his pitching motion in front of the TV. Giovanni Gallardo.
Oh, that's a W.
Was just the greatest, dude. He had that like necklace chain that was bounced around his neck. I love Giovanni. Still do. He's always awesome to watch.
Oh yeah.
And then my last person in the top five is Twins legend Joe Mauer. I really like Joe Mauer. Don't have much else outside of that. The catch he made behind the net is, I think, the most underrated catch in MLB history that I've seen, at least. I think that that catch was just insane. I put it in the video announcing this podcast. Just crazy.
One thing I will say is I'm very proud. Like, I'm not a fan of him, but I was fully expecting him to be on your list, and I'm glad that Ken Griffey Jr. is not on it. Like, I'm not like,
made it.
Huh?
He almost made it.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised he's not on your list, Just because I mean, I feel like he's a lot of people's favorite player,
Yeah.
and like, there's nothing against him. He's obviously the kid. He's ultra talented, but I don't know. I think he took a lot away from how great Ichiro was, and just that. I don't know. I think he gets a lot of obviously he gets a lot of what is it coverage just because I mean he was great. I mean he was incredible, but like people also got to realize that like Ichiro was just as good in his own way. You know,
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. What I probably won't agree with is your top five current players. Do you want to tell me them?
I will. Um, so I hate the Dodgers, but I actually have a Dodger on my top five.
Let's see
Actually,
if we have the same
ac-
one. I have a Dodger in my top five.
actually he's my number one by far favorite player. I
Oh
wish he was
no,
still.
we're not gonna have the same one.
I wish he was still on the Red Sox, but it is
Wow,
Mookie
we do have the
Betts.
same one.
It is Mookie Betts. He is. He was my argument against Mike Trout, and I will stand by that. Um,
I would have put.
Mookie Betts is my favorite player right now. I think he's the best player in baseball. Shohei Ohtani, who? So that's my number one, Mookie
I
Betts.
would have put money down. You're gonna say Kershaw.
Hell no, I hate Kershaw. I'm a Mad Bum all the way. I don't hate Kershaw, but I like Madison Bumgarner a whole lot more. I do not like. I'm not a big fan of Kershaw, to be honest with you.
Who else is on your list?
Number two, Corbin Carroll.
I like
I,
it.
I I am a big sports cards collector type of thing, and I have a lot of high end Corbin Carroll cards, and I am very proud of them. I love watching him play baseball. He steals a lot of bases, which is always fun. What's very interesting to me is that a lot of like my favorite players play baseball very differently than I and have very different skill sets than I. Like one time, I remember coming up to our coach and being like, "So how can I hit like Ichiro?" And like I have a completely different body type than him. I am very much slower than him. So I think that's an interesting thing about me. But yeah, Corbin Carroll, love him. Which I know we're gonna be talking about him later, so I'm not gonna get too much into him. But number three is Matt Chapman, multiple time Platinum Glove winner. Obviously, a whole bunch of Gold Gloves. I love the way Matt Chapman plays baseball. So slick, hits for power. Obviously, I don't think he's as good as when he was on the A's, and I do miss that. But I am just glad that he's not on the Dodgers, to be honest with you, because then that'd be really unfortunate. But yeah, Matt Chapman's number three. Love Matt Chapman. Number four and five might actually come as a surprise to you. I'm not gonna lie to you. It might come as shockers. Number four is Tanner Houck, pitcher for the Red
What?
Sox.
Where did that come from?
Um, so the what was it? I watched his first start, and that was like the first baseball game I watched, and I just like this guy, his mix. Like, if you've ever watched the slider, it is disgusting.
It is.
Absolutely, absolutely disgusting. One of the best pitches in baseball. He doesn't throw overpowering, which I love. I love pitchers that like also have complete control and can like dot up and just are just painters. And Tanner Houck is one of those guys. And honestly, he's a big reason as to why the Red Sox are third in the division. They're 8 games above 500. I mean, obviously, it's going to be tough for them to win that division just because the Orioles and the Yankees are already at 65 wins. But I mean, the Red Sox are 5.5 games back. And I mean, honestly, the pitching is a big aspect of that. And Tanner Houck is, I mean, arguably the biggest player of that. The number five, I think you're also going to be like, where did this come from? My number five is Cole Reagans,
I
pitcher
like that.
for the Royals. Yeah, he has an awesome mustache. Love the mustache. And actually, so I was listening to Ben Verlander and the Flippin' Bats podcast. They interviewed Cole Reagans, and so he was with the Rangers, and then he got traded to the Royals. And actually, what it was very interesting where he was struggling with the Rangers, then he came to the Royals, and he developed a slider. And ever since he developed the slider, he has become an elite pitcher. He has become an elite strikeout pitcher, and just like, I mean, one of the best pitchers in baseball. I think that's a crazy story about just learning one pitch can really develop you and put you over the top as a pitcher. And I think that's really cool. And then I will say an honorable mention. He was on my list, and then I changed it up a little bit. Was Jose Ramirez. I know he's a Guardian, and you don't like him or like that team at all, but I think J Ram is, in my opinion, the most underrated superstar in baseball. He does everything. He can, I mean, except for really steal bases, but I mean, he hits for contact. He obviously hits for power. I don't know what the standings are or the stats are looking like for RBIs anymore, but I know he was at a time he was hitting like he says I'm hitting like Barry Bonds, and he was not very wrong in that aspect. I mean, he's still second in the league in RBIs. He has 91 RBIs, man. Aaron Judge, which Aaron Judge is just another animal, but I mean, Jose Ramirez, one of the most underrated superstars in baseball, and he's number 6 for me, which I know we weren't supposed to say, but honorable mention, I got to give this man credit because he's insane, and a big reason as to why your hated Guardians are 67 and 42.
I 100% agree that he is one of the most underrated superstars in baseball. I'm gonna shout out a Brewer real quick on that same train. The reason I say he's underrated, I've gone to a lot of Brewer games this year. This man has so little jersey love by the Brewers fan base. And like, I'm not the most active person on social media, but he doesn't seem like social media wise he even gets that much love. He did for a little bit because he was top 5 hitter in baseball to start the year, and he's tailed off a little bit. But I think William Contreras is also one of the most underrated superstars in baseball. I don't even know now if you could call him a superstar right now.
Yeah, I was just about to make that argument. I
But-
think he's a star, but I don't think he's a superstar. Not yet. He's still young. He's what, 26, 25? Yeah. But yeah, not yet.
But well, I know like you compare his stats to Jose Ramirez as a batter, but for what he's doing as a catcher, I think is
honestly, like you can't really compare Jose Ramirez to William Contreras. Yeah. William Contreras, he's probably top 2, top 3 catcher in baseball. I mean, that's, in my opinion, unarguable. That is just a fact.
Yeah.
No, he's playing great. You know?
I'm totally with you. I think it's hard to compare catchers to other position players for hitting wise, which is why, as a biased Brewer fan, I'm putting him in the superstar category. Sue me.
Yeah, we'll see.
By the way, these top 5 players are not including Brewers, because if I listed my top 10 players, I think 9 of them would be Brewers. So we'll get into our top Brewers after this. My top 5 current players, I think Bradley knows who the number 1 is. Also, I realized as you were going through yours, I don't have any pitchers on here.
That's crazy.
I also have pitcher bias, though. As you could yes, Bradley is going to be the defender of pitchers more, and I'll be the defender of hitters more. Which is just going to be a good... I think it'll be a good back and forth that we'll have. But my number 1 player to watch when he's healthy is Mike Trout. I have just the quality of at-bats he puts together is just mind-boggling. Like, it seems like every time he's at the plate, he's going to give you a quality at-bat. And for me, like, there's only a few hitters in baseball that are going to do that, and he's one of them. And I also have a little sympathy because he's been on a team that has historically struggled. He's my number 1. Number 2, Adley Rutschman.
Very interesting. Okay.
I'm a big Adley Rutschman fan. Switching catchers are like the coolest thing of all time. I think that's just incredible. My number three is, I think you're going to be surprised on this one. I think most people, probably outside of the city he plays in, would not expect someone to say he's one of their favorite players. But Bryce Harper has come around on me.
I like that. Bryce Harper's awesome. He's fun to watch, and he's a perfect fit for Philly. My
Yeah,
opinion.
no, he's literally perfect. I think that when he came into the league, he was known as cocky and arrogant. But I think as time has gone on, he's started to realize, like, I don't need to be this cocky person. I can just have fun with it. And like he goes to the London series and he has that awesome soccer celebration, and he's used custom cleats in games, and the MLB has fined him, and he doesn't care. Like that's from a fan's perspective, that's just a ton of fun. And I like him a lot.
Can I say a couple things about Bryce Harper?
Yeah, go for it.
I think so. There's a thing that came across my Twitter feed where this guy actually from Philly, like I don't know how he got a hold of Bryce Harper, but he actually got Bryce Harper to basically like how do I say this? Like he was like the facilitator to asking this girl out to prom. And that was the coolest video that this like superstar athlete that is just like I mean, he's top 10 player in baseball, guaranteed. And he's just like, I mean, this kid can just go up to his house with this girl and like Bryce Harper walks out with a sign saying, like, will you be mine to prom or whatever? Like, that's just so cool and so down to earth. And I just like, I love that he's doing that because it's so good for baseball. He is so good for baseball. And I love that. I really like that he did that. I will say though, like when he was younger, I do agree that he had kind of a big head. I mean, I can understand why though, because like other than Steven Strasburg, I think he's probably one of the most anticipated starts of all time. I mean, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated as a high schooler. He didn't. I mean, he finished high school when he was a junior just to go play baseball his like senior year and stuff like that. This kid. I mean, he's a phenom. He's one of the phenoms that actually worked out. Like you look at Joey Gallo, he was a phenom. He's made money. I mean, but otherwise, probably like a 200 career hitter. All he does is hit nukes or strikes out. But yeah, so you got to give kudos to Bryce Harper for. I mean, he's really come into his own as a good person and a very good one of the faces of baseball. I think you got to give him a lot of kudos to
that. You said earlier you thought Mad Bum was one of the most clutch postseason pitchers.
Yep.
In my opinion, the most clutch postseason hitter right now is Bryce Harper. Part of the reason I like him so much.
Yeah.
But that's a conversation for a different day. My number 4 you mentioned earlier, Mookie Betts. Really like Mookie. He's an awesome guy. He's an athlete, dude. See these clips of him dunking and then bowling perfect games. It's just like baseball players are athletes. I don't care what position they are. They are athletes.
Yep.
And lastly, my number 5. This is going to be just out of left field. I actually don't know if he's in the league right now. When he came into the bigs, he had a home run hitting spree, and I just became a fan. Akil Baddoo. I don't know if he's in the league.
Wow, what a hole!
I got a luck, dude.
I don't know if he's on the team. Oh, I don't know.
He
might be.
It says he's playing for the Tigers on Google. That doesn't mean he's in the bigs.
No.
He's got 60 at bats.
He's had at bats. Yes, I mean he has 60 at bats on the year. He's hitting 117. He last played July 11th, so he might be in the minors now.
Yeah, it looks like
he's injured or something.
Looks like he's playing Toledo today.
Okay.
But hope he can get back to the bigs. I love me some Akil Baddoo. I know that's crazy and not a common take, but
no, I mean that's what's special about our players getting to know us. Like we're not always gonna choose players that are the superstars of the league type of thing.
Yeah, that's the great thing about baseball is and sports in general is like not always the popular players aren't always the best players.
Right.
Um, or like anyone can have any attachment to anybody. I saw Reese Hoskins, Brewer, some kid like last week came to a Brewer game. I think they said they drove like I don't know how long a ways, and they're holding up the sign and they're like, "We drove this far. All I want to see is a Reese Hoskins homer." It's a homer, and then he like after the game he goes and meets with the kid. It's just so cool when
Yeah, that is
the
awesome.
unique ways that players connect with the fans and fans connect with the players. And
100%.
it can be any player. Like if you play one pitch in the bigs, you could be someone's favorite player, and that's just
Oh yeah.
the coolest thing.
I remember I went to a Brewer game as a little kid, and like there was like Prince, we were sitting first base line, and every single time the Brewers were done with like their like the pitcher was done warming up or whatever, I'd always be like, or whenever like the inning ended, like the 3 outs Brewers came up to hit, I'd always run down there and be like, Prince, 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 trying to get him to, obviously he was my favorite player at the time, and I wanted to get a ball from him. That was my goal of that whole thing. I just wanted a ball from him. And then I was yelling it, and I looked into the dugout, and one of our utility players at the time, I want to say it was Chavez. That doesn't. I can't remember if it was Chavez. I think it was Chavez, but he looked at me and he nodded, and I just about screamed.
So I mentioned that we were also going to throw in our favorite brewers. Both of us, I think, put three down. I put three down.
Yeah, but he was like,
Um, Bradley, who are your favorite brewers?
so I have his jersey when I went to a game. My buddy and I, shout out Brandon. We went to like the pro shop and we got our jerseys. He got a John Axford, which I will say is very cool, and he might be a top five brewer of all time for me. Um, but my favorite pitcher or my favorite brewer is Freddie Peralta, which I was really hoping he'd have a better year, but he's not. Well, I will say he is sixth in the majors in Ks per nine, sitting at 11.1. So there's some hope that he can just like figure it out, not give up so many homers. Yeah, Freddie Peralta is number one. Number two, Bryce Turang. I absolutely love Turang. He is he is and should be a Gold Glove candidate at second base. He is an incredible second baseman, and that's not his primary position. His primary position is shortstop, just like Joey Ortiz's primary position. So, like we have three shortstops manning the infield. Bryce Turang, I love him. I love the way he swings for contact. I love the way his bat looks with the giant knob on the bottom. Like he's automatically a choke up, just get on base. He's second in the majors in stolen bases, and I just love Bryce Turang. And then my third guy, which I don't think I kind of left Yelich off of here. I mean, I do love Yelich. I'm very pleased with how he's performed in Milwaukee, especially the first 2 years, MVP, and should have won MVP again. But I left him off. Yeah, he can be an honorable mention for me, but I kind of want to choose players that are like I really, really like that aren't Christian Yelich. And my third player is Brian Hudson. He is disgusting. He's a lefty. I love lefty pitchers, especially guys like Brian Hudson, who doesn't throw extraordinarily fast. Like over the last 2 years, his fastball, I believe, is average right around 92, and he has a nasty sweeper. It's disgusting. But I will say he is 6'7", so his like, and he has extremely long legs. So when he's pitching, like he obviously just gets so much closer to home plate than a lot of guys, than a guy like Tim Lincecum might. And so his fastball is 92 according to the gun. But like it's coming at you so much faster just because he's getting closer to home plate. That I mean, it's probably like right around here. I mean, it looks like a 96, 97 fastball. He's so deceptive, and I think that I mean we picked him up last year just off of the. I mean, he was designated for assignment if I remember correctly, and I mean, he's just another example of how great our pitching coaches are. You know, he's so much fun to watch, and he's an elite reliever in the league right now.
It's funny that you say Brian Hudson because, well, first off, he's on my list. I
Did not see that coming.
You didn't?
No, I didn't.
When he pitched his first game for us this year, I think it was in New York. I was watching the game with one of my roommates. I'll have him come on, and he can vouch for me if you don't believe me. He didn't have a great game. I think he let up a run maybe. I looked at him. I said he's gonna be good this year. I just saw the arm angle, and the stuff. And I was like, this kid is gonna be good. And he has been good. I think he is talking like team MVP. Brian Hudson deserves to be in that conversation for how good he's been in the bullpen.
Yeah,
like
I think like him, Turang, and Churiel. Leaving out William and Yelich, I think those three guys have been they've been vital to team success.
Yeah. And also, anyone who's listening, I promise I will put this down that we do not even bring up the Brewers next time because we have talked a lot about this homegrown Milwaukee baseball team. Unless we might mention them, but we won't talk about them anywhere near as extensively as we have today. My other two, I also had Bryce Turang in there. Like you said, Gold Glove. He's hit this year. He bunts. He does everything you want a position player to do. To summarize his season, you're playing whoever we played last week. Who did we play last week?
The Braves.
Yeah, you're playing the Braves. No, it wasn't against the Braves. Whoever it was before that. You have bases loaded, one out. You hit a liner to the right side. Turang dives to his left, makes the play. Next batter comes out, hits it up the middle. Turang dives to the right, and makes the play. Like that's just been his season, and in a 3-minute stretch, just incredible defense, finding ways to help the team however he can. So just massive shout outs to Bryce. And then my favorite Brewer is Garrett Mitchell. Watched him a bit in college. We drafted him, followed him through the minors. Comes up, has a great end of the season in 2022. Watched him in a walk-off homer last year to start 2023, and then he's down for the entire year. And then he's down for all this year after he gets injured in spring training. But I have had, if he stays healthy, Garrett Mitchell is going to be a very good baseball player. We made it through the trade deadline. I was a little nervous. I thought he was gonna be gone for probably Eric Fedde, but now Eric Fedde is a St. Louis Cardinal. Yeah, big Garrett Mitchell fan. Big Brewers fan. We're both big Brewers fans, and that is why we won't talk about them next podcast.
I mean, we'll talk about them, but honestly, like, there's just so many other bigger things to talk about.
Yeah.
Moving forward. So, like, when we're doing power rankings, like, obviously the Brewers will probably be in there. As of now, they're probably in the top 10 for power rankings. But, like, moving forward, we'll be talking about probably different things as well.
Yep. So next up, we're going to get away from our biases a little bit. We both grabbed 3 performances in the last week. These can either be one game or multi-game. We both grabbed 3 different ones. We did not share each other, so it's potential that we have the exact 3. I'm pretty confident we won't. I'll go first. This is you probably won't have this guy. A St. Louis Cardinal, who made his MLB debut this week and threw 7 innings of 1-run ball. I didn't know that this guy made his debut. Like, Paul Scenes comes up the entire world. I didn't even hear this guy. I'm looking through the box scores the other night, and I'm like, who the heck is this guy? His name is Michael McGreevy. Against the Rangers on Wednesday, he only had 3 strikeouts in 7 innings, but he only let up 1 run, which is if you go 7 innings allowing 1 run, it doesn't matter how many strikeouts you have. That's a good day at the office.
Great day at the office.
So Michael McGreevy, good work, good work. Who's one of your performances?
I'll go with the first one. Tyler Phillips of the Phillies. Uh, he had his first career complete game shutout, which not to mention the Phillies organization. I'll get to them in a second, but good for Tyler Phillips. I mean, I love seeing these young guys come up and having success. I mean, it's just good for baseball, in my opinion. I love it. I would see it. But like, kudos to the Phillies as well. I mean, this week they've struggled, or the last 10 they've struggled. They're 2-8 in their last 10. They're on a 5-game losing streak. I mean, but they're still 21 games above 500. And I mean, this is just a sign of a good team that you don't have to have a Bryce Harper or a Schwarber or a Trey Turner always having to win you games. I mean, they're just so deep, and they can have guys come up and play and have an impact on their team and on their wins on the season. And I think that's kudos to Tyler Phillips being coming up and being ready, and being able to throw an absolute gem. And then kudos to the Phillies as well, just drafting well, developing, and just being able to have depth and be able to win ball games.
Yeah, the Phillies are a very good team. I think that nobody would want to play them in the playoffs. However, the Braves a week ago today were, I think, 10 games back. All of a sudden, that lead is cut to five.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be interesting, but maybe the NL East is going to be an interesting division at the end.
I mean, 100%. Like, you got the Phillies, who are disgusting at baseball. They are struggling as of late. They've lost their last 5, as I said. But the Braves, I mean, they're on a 4-game winning streak. In the last 10, they're 6-4. I mean, the Braves are turning it up. Like I said, I mean, they don't have Cunha, which they lost Cunha when they won the World Series in 21. They made it work. Obviously, they don't have Strider, which really hurts because honestly, I was probably going to bet that he was going to win the NL Cy Young. But I mean, they've just been finding ways to win. And then you look at teams like the Mets. I mean, they struggled massively to begin the year. Now they're 7 games above 500, 7 games out of first place in the NL East. And then obviously the Marlins, they're poverty, but I mean, it's Major League Baseball. Any team can win at any point. Even though the Marlins have traded, if I remember correctly, just about a fourth of their team. And then the Nationals are very young, very talented, some of the best back end of the bullpen in the league. And I mean, they can mess up anybody's season as well. So yeah, like you said, I think the NL East is going to be a very, very good team, or a very good division moving forward.
Yeah, the Mets have been the weirdest team in baseball, I think, this year. I mean, just terrible, and then some stupid McDonald's mascot shows up to a game, and they decide to start being, since then, one of the best teams in baseball, and it doesn't really make sense, but that's how it works.
That's baseball, yeah.
One of the performances I had, this is a mix, I guess. Olson and d'Arnaud of Atlanta had 2 pairs of back-to-back homers against the Brewers on Wednesday. When does that happen? Like that
not very often.
That never happens.
No.
And Olson hits his second home run, and I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, well, this game's over. And d'Arnaud pokes one out, and I almost started clapping. I was like, this doesn't ever happen.
Yeah, I mean, when you're watching baseball, like obviously you're rooting for your team, but like when you see cool stuff happen, like you just gotta applaud. Like obviously, if the Brewers, obviously I'm mentioning them again, but like if they get no hit, like I'm also a pitching fan. Like I mean, it's not easy. Hitting is obviously not easy either, but throwing a no is just incredible. When you see anything cool, you just gotta applaud it because there are 162 games in the season. You just gotta enjoy baseball for how beautiful it really is and just cool things that happen.
What's another one of your performances of the week?
Speaking of no hitters, I did watch the last 3 innings of Blake Snell's no.
Yeah, how did he look? I wasn't able to catch any of
Oh,
it, and I know that
dude.
he has not finished more than 7 innings in his career before last
In his
night.
career, and then he throws a no. So like, I picked this out just because Blake Snell has pitched horrendously this year. He's getting paid what, $30 million, a little bit more maybe, by the Giants, and obviously, like I've said before, I'm a pitching fan. And a guy like Blake Snell, who's never gone past 7 innings before in his entire career, and he's won multiple Cy Youngs, and he is like, I mean, he's been in the league for a while, and he has not pitched more than 7 innings. Then this year, he is bad, like not good. Fresh coming off of a Cy Young win, and then he throws a no hitter. Like, I think this is one of the coolest storylines in baseball this year. I love this for Blake Snell. I think it's very, very cool. He has never gone past 7 innings. And then this year, of all the years, not his Cy Young years, but this year, he has thrown a no hitter. I think that is phenomenal. I love that. Good for Blake Snell. Good for the Giants. Good for baseball. I love it.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool. Baseball is such a fun sport, and when stuff like that happens, it's awesome. Um, the other, my third performance that I want to highlight, Eugenio Suarez of the Diamondbacks had a three-homer game on Washington or on Tuesday,
Yeah.
against Washington. He was 4 for 6, only 5 RBIs. I believe he scored 4 runs too. Arizona won that game 17-0. Uh, Offense coming alive a little bit for the Diamondbacks. I think
Yeah.
I saw that was it tied for the biggest win in Diamondbacks history, and it makes it a little bit more impressive when you realize they didn't get to hit in the bottom of the ninth.
Right.
So shout out Suarez, and hopefully you don't do that against the Brewers in the playoffs.
No kidding. I
Who's
think it's
your
actually funny that you picked Suarez because he was on my list as well.
nice? Do you have
I
anything to
mean,
add?
how can you? I mean, 3 home run game, 5 RBIs. That's insane. Um, I guess branching off of that, and something that we'll talk about later. But the D-backs. I mean, they've won 8 of their last 10. Yeah, they've won 8 of their last 10, which is, I mean, the only other teams to do that are the Padres, which are also in the division, and then also your favorite Guardians. Those are the only two teams to win 8 of their last 10. And it's good to see. I mean, the D backs made a surprise run to the World Series last year, which I don't think anybody really saw. And now they're 4 games out of first place, 4 games back from the Dodgers. And I mean, I like the Diamondbacks as a team, as a franchise. Obviously, Corbin Carroll is my second favorite player in baseball right now. And I mean, it's just good to see the D-backs winning again, and good to see that offense cooking because
Let's
they
just
have the pitching. You know,
yeah, let's just talk about the D-backs now. Getting Josh Bell. Where did that come from, Miami? What are you doing? Was it a trade or was it waivers? I think Josh Bell.
so technically, he was designated for assignment, but then the D-backs did trade for him.
Okay,
It was a trade, yeah.
nice. Yeah. He I think hit a homer last night for the D-backs. They're
Yeah,
coming
he did.
alive.
Yeah, he did.
Uh, and the D-backs are a fun team. I think that they're
Yeah,
young. They're pretty similar. They're close to at least like the Brewers, Guardians, Royals, etc.
right.
And they're just they're just young and figuring it out. Corbin
Yep.
Carroll is going through just an immaculate slump that nobody saw coming.
Oh, this might be one of the worst sophomore slumps like ever, maybe.
Yeah, no, it's
But I
bad.
will say, like, I mean, he's turning it around a little bit. He did hit a walk off a couple days ago. Um, but I mean, he's coming alive. His last 7 games, he's been hitting 292 with a 393 on base percentage. So I love to see that. I mean, he's hit 2 home runs in the last 7 games, which, I mean, he should be a guy that hits around 20, 25 homers a year. He has 20 stolen bases on the year. I mean, he should be a guy that annually hits 20 homers and gets 50 stolen bases, 40 stolen bases for you. If he can figure it out, I mean, he is the superstar of the D-backs, without saying. He won NL Rookie of the Year last year. He, like I said, I am a massive collector of him. He's one of my favorite players. I really want to see him turn around just because I know how special he can be, especially for I'd say a smaller market team like the D-backs. I mean, they need him to turn it around, and I think he can and will. If he can keep this up, I mean, if he's hitting 292 the last 7 games, if he can hit right around 280 for the rest of the year, I mean, that'd be great. I mean, his batting average will not reflect how well he finished it just because he's already hitting 215. He has 396 at-bats on the year. Like, his stats are not going to look great, but people who actually dig into baseball, I mean, if he can finish out the year strong and lead the D-backs to maybe an NLCS again, I'm not saying get them to the World Series, but if he can lead them to somewhat of a good playoff run, like that hate's gonna go down tremendously. And I think he's a very special player that is vital for not only the D-backs, but I think he's another one of those guys that's just great for baseball. You know, he's great for baseball.
Yeah, no, I'm with you all the way. So I just got some stats pulled up here. His expected batting average this year is 240. He's hitting 215. If that 25 points swings the other direction up to 265, like, we're not having this conversation.
Right.
And he is having a little bit worse of a year than last year. Last year he hit 285s, but his first year in 22 he hit 260 over 115 plate appearances. So, like, that 25-point swing going down instead of up is a big deal, but at the same time, like, I don't think we need to be worried about Corbin Carroll.
No.
I think that
not anymore. I don't think.
No, I think
there was reason to worry before maybe this last 7-game stretch, just because. I mean, we've seen it before. A guy has like Keston Hiura, for instance, like has a great rookie year, and then, to be quite blunt, just doesn't perform well the rest of his career, which is unfortunate, but that is baseball, and that stuff happens. But I don't think the way Corbin Carroll, his hit tool, the way he gets on base, and I mean, just an impact player that he is, I agree. We don't really have to worry about him. Yeah.
I'm with you there. We only have a little bit of time left. What would you like to talk about on our list here? It's up to you. Your call.
Okay. I do think we should get to the trade deadline, but I will say Jazz Chisholm, that trade to the Yankees, is massive. I mean,
talk about an immediate impact. Oh my gosh.
I will say Jazz is, I think, overrated, my opinion. I don't.
Wow. The Uno reverse comes out of nowhere.
Okay, hold on. I'm getting there. I think he's a fantastic. I think one of my buddies actually texted me. Props to Sam, but he is a great player for baseball. He's very exciting, and I would say, as Sam said, he is a very much a fan favorite for people that are like 14 and younger. I think that it is especially great for baseball that he is out of Miami and is on one of the biggest markets, because I think it's amazing for baseball. It really is. And then you look at what he's done for the Yankees so far. I mean, with Miami, he hit 249, which is not ideal, but I mean, today's baseball, that's okay. He has a 323 on base percentage. But then you look at what he's doing for the Yankees. He's played 6 games already for the Yankees. He has 4 home runs in 6 games. He's hitting .333 with a .360 on base percentage. He has a stolen base, and 8 RBIs. Like, I mean, it's good to see that he's succeeding because I think that he is. I've said this a lot today, good for baseball, but I think Jazz is probably one of the best players for the sport of baseball. I think he is very exciting. He has the swag. He has the aura, if you will.
Stop. I never want to hear you say that word again.
Aura?
Stop. No.
I don't know, dude. I think he's great for baseball, and I'm glad to see him in New York, and succeeding in New York.
I'm with you. I think he is a very good thing for baseball. Marlins fans, as a small market team fan of the Brewers, I wish you could have found a way to keep him, but unfortunately, he went from a playoff team to whatever you are now. Unfortunate mediocrity, I guess, is what you describe it as. But I hope you guys recover. I think I've generally had positive feelings about the Marlins franchise. So
yeah,
because you gave us Christian Yelich, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right, that is all I have time for today.
You don't want to talk about that deadline?
Nah,
it's so
we'll
big,
have to get into it next time. I gotta run, dude. I'm in a softball tournament. We play in 2 hours.
Oh, come on. You can talk for another 20 minutes.
I gotta get my BP in and stretch. I'm an old man.
That's fine. 2 hours.
I know. So anyone listening on YouTube, check the description for any links, Instagram, Twitter, etc. Spotify, I think it's somewhere. I don't really know how Spotify podcasts work and where it is, but somewhere the links to everything should be in there. I don't know when we'll have our next podcast. Hopefully within a week. I think that would be a reasonable goal.
Yeah.
I think 1 a week would be awesome, but we will see what we end up doing. Bradley, do you have any last comments and words?
Get ready for next week because we're going to dig into the trade deadline, which I know has been a while ago, but I feel like it's extremely important to talk about. So thank you guys for listening and tuning in. I know this is a project that Ben and I kind of came up with very recently, and we both just love baseball. And I mean, hopefully, nobody gets too triggered because this is just our takes, and we just love baseball as a sport overall. Nothing against Cardinals fans. I'm just, I respect your for the team. I respect you guys. I respect baseball as a game. So don't get angry at me for saying that, but. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It really means the world to me that anybody would listen to us and our takes on baseball, because I do think that we are knowledgeable on the sport, and we just love it. We really love the sport.
Let us know what you think. Tell your friends. Have them let us know what you think. Tell your grandma. Maybe she's a baseball fan.
Oh, she
My
probably
grandmas
is.
are not a baseball fan, but when I'm on the field, oh boy, lots of loud screaming. Have a good one, you guys.